What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you another live duel from locals. On the top you got myself on Yubel, and on the bottom we have Rob on Evil Eyes. So both of these decks are in contention for both of us players to be taking these to Nationals. Now Nationals are happening this exact weekend, so we'll kind of see how it goes. Now I won the dice roll on this one, so we're going to be starting off with Nightmare Throne. Insanely good card for the deck, and of course we have just had confirmed Phantom of Yubel. Annoyingly, it is the most expensive as a secret rare and of course a quarter century. Now off of the back of Throne we did get hit with Droll and Lock. Now we can actually play through this. I could have played this a little bit more optimal. I just couldn't, I didn't know if they main deck Droll or not. To play it more optimal, what I would have done off of Nightmare Throne is to search out the Grave Squirmer, because I did actually have I think I already had the Lotus in the hand. Either way, we've gone with Samsara the Lotus. We've tributed it off into the Spirit of Yubel. You see, I've got Terraforming as well, so it's probably lucky that I did open up Throne. Otherwise, a draw on that one would have sucked. We also got hit with Imperm, so we've actually eaten 2 hand traps on this one. And unfortunately, we are just going to have to set one and try and hold it back with just the Spirit of Yubel. It looks like they top deck Ash Blossom for turn. And it's really going to come down to how much more can I interact with them in comparison. Now we know that my hand already contains a Terraforming and a Dark Beckoning Beast. So we're going to be starting off with the Token Spawner for the Evil Eyes, which is an incredibly good card as well. Followed up by the Basilisk, which just special summons itself as long as you control an Evil Eye monster, which the token is. You can see that they also main deck Nibiru, so it's not exactly a go second deck, but it does kind of have those little quirks in it that some of these hand traps not a lot of people are actually maining, but some of them people are, and it can really catch a lot of people off guard. So at the moment we're basically just sitting on a Spirit of Yubel. Now obviously it can't be destroyed by battle, and if it does get destroyed by a card effect it will float into a normal Yubel. So ultimately that's pretty much all we've got going for us at this exact moment in time, and we're just going to let Evil Eyes just go off. So it is Evil Eyes with a nice little Unchained engine, but I'm pretty sure any Fiend deck is going to be doing that. One big thing to remember is at this exact moment in time, no normal summon has actually been used by the Evil Eyes. They've actually done incredibly well, working their way up into Yama, and then of course if they wanted to they could technically go into Anguish, which would have been a big pain, which is exactly what happens. And then Anguish is going to use Yubel as link fodder, which will get them into Abomination or a Rage. They could go into SP, but I don't believe they actually have SP at this moment in time. We're currently just questioning, does this work as Yubel leaving the field via an opponent's card effect so that Throne could trigger to float? We kind of found out that apparently it doesn't. It's just being used as link material, not actually leaving via a card effect. But we could be wrong on that one, because technically it's a little bit different to the Underworld Goddess. Like the Underworld Goddess lets you use it as link material. It's not really an activated effect. Either way, so you can see that they've opened up the field spell for Evil Eyes, which gets them to Surzeal. Surzeal, of course, can be normal summoned, and it's pretty much going full combo. This is exactly what Evil Eyes can do, and it's relatively scary when they can go off uninterrupted. So there's only one unknown card in my hand, and then the one unknown back row, which I can't remember if it was the hard opening of the Unchained Trap. I suppose the biggest downside right now of Evil Eyes is they haven't really got the capabilities to push for an OTK, or it doesn't look like there's an OTK on the board. If there was, then you obviously you might want to consider kind of scooping it up at this point. But it looks like at this moment in time, what they're trying to work through is with Surzeal and of course with Abomination, there's a way of being able to pop a couple of cards. So if I remember correctly, that is actually the Unchained Abomination, not Abominable Chamber, sorry, along the back row, which is exactly what gets hit. That's going to allow us to trigger this just to get a Shayama onto the board. We're basically just deck thinning now because we already have a Yama, Savara in the hand, sorry. Maybe we don't have Savara in the hand. I'm trying to remember why I went with the Shayama. It's probably just because it's graveyard floatability, so it means I'll have an extender during the next turn. And I highly expect them to, obviously exactly what they did, they just popped it off of the back of that. So I think in the moment I've taken something like 4,000 damage, just above that. So we haven't had lethal, which is lucky for us. We still got Throne in rotation, which is also pretty good for us, but the issue is as soon as they have the ability to pop with Surzeal during my turn, it basically turns into a double pop, because Surzeal will pop a card and then Abomination will pop a card. So it looks like what we've got Terraform, which is going to get us a backup of the field spell if they do decide to get rid of it. using Sergio's effect in the, I believe it's the standby phase, where it's like a maintenance cost, where they have to destroy a card, and in doing so, that will then trigger Abomination to pop the throne. So again, we got a little bit lucky that we still have that Terraforming. We did ride that Droll out, and it was an imperm. So it looks like there is Terraforming, Pot of Prosperity. I believe that's Dark Beckoning Beast, and I also believe that that is Nightmare Pain. So Terraforming gets hit with the Ash. Absolutely fine on that one. They didn't want us getting on our throne, which is understandable because that card is crazy good. But now, of course, we've got Dark Beckoning. One of the biggest issues for Dark Beckoning is if it gets impermed. I feel it may... I mean, they could have held back the Abomination, but whether they actually had the ability to trigger it or not is a different story. We're going to be getting into Gates. Gates is going to get you into the second Dark Beckoning Beast. That can then become the additional normal summon if you wish, unless you've opened up another Samsara D Lotus. But you also have the ability to activate technically Nightmare Pain, if that is the card in hand, and that can let you search out a Samsara D Lotus, which will let you get into Spirit and everything else. So Abomination is still a bit of a pain in the backside to kind of deal with. It's relatively strong, 3k boss monster, or mini boss monster, I suppose is the right terminology for that card. And yeah, so Prosperity would be the dig for the Samsara D Lotus, but we can go directly with... I mean, another option of the Nightmare Pain is to go for the Grave Squirmer, which is absolutely fine. So it's just trying to figuring out what we want to go for. So we're going to go with Gates to bring back Spirit. Spirit can then get us the another Yubel card. And this is one thing that not a lot of people actually know about the Gates, is why you can try level 10 once, you can actually add a continuous back from the grave. So what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm actually going to add that Nightmare Pain back from the grave, and it's just become free discard fodder. And then, of course, I do have the ability to search out the Eternal Favourite, which is going to give me the ability to Conduct Fuse on my opponent's board, or ultimately bring back a Yubel from the graveyard. So, second effect is Gates is actually incredibly good if you remember to do it. Unfortunately, we don't have that many continuous spell cards in Yubel. I think we only have 2 at this exact moment in time, in the form of, not including the other Gates, of course, but you've got Nightmare Pain and you have the Chronicle. Not a lot of people are actually now playing Mature Chronicle. That may change with Phantom of Yubel. It's obviously something I'd want to trial out with some lists, but the Yubel list is just incredibly tight right now. It's insane. So at the moment, we still have the additional normal summon off of the Dark Beckoning Beast. We still have Yubel on the board, and obviously here comes the Dark Beckoning Beast. So overlaying both of those, this is just a kind of... This was like a fear of dealing with Nibiru. So I went into the Gym Buster, and it basically gives me the ability for a Protect. So they held back the destruction effect of Sergio, because Sergio still has a quick effect. So remember at the start, it wasn't actually Sergio's quick effect that was used to destroy it. It was just the maintenance cost to keep it on the board. So making the Gym Buster basically allowed me to provide protection, because I kind of assumed that they would be trying to pop off and find a way to get rid of that, get rid of the Nightmare Pain, because that's going to be my ultimate win con. So we're going to be able to destroy that, search out a Grey Squirmer, get us into a Yubel. At the moment, if we were to attack with Yubel, we can do our opponent 3,000 damage, but that's not what we want to do. We want to be pushing for game. So at the moment, the Gym Buster is just on the field as a form of protection, which can be quite helpful because not a lot of people are actually expecting it. Obviously, post Phantom of Yubel, then it just gets replaced. And a very nice, easy response on that one. So Grey Squirmer is going to be summoned down. That's going to pop Yubel, which of course is going to allow us to float into the Terra Incarnate. And basically what you're doing there is you're deck thinning and getting the Terra Incarnate into rotation. So it can be very, very helpful sometimes doing that. So you can link both of those off. We're going to get into the Yama. We're going to go to a zone that the Abomination points to, just so it leaves our extra monster zone a bit free. This is where Sergio tries to use his effect, and then of course we're going to chain that with the Gym Buster, which in return is going to get chained with, I'm not too sure the exact name of this one, but it's one in the graveyard. It lets it come back, and then it can also be, it basically treats, it's like an IP Masquerade. It lets them link with, link into the Evil Eye monsters, which is really kind of cool, because that's one thing that the deck was massively missing back when it first came out, is it got bits and bobs. It had like a link 3 but no other link climbs, and it got a link 2. So it would be really kind of cool to get some more link monsters, but the deck itself is relatively, like, the theme is pretty much set. Like, you've got the link monster for Sergio, you've got the link monster for Medusa, so the only thing that would probably be missing is like a link 1 for the Basilisk, or the basically like little dog thing, I believe it's called. I don't know, it's not called the little dog thing, but you kind of get where I'm coming from with this one. So this comes the quick effect that's going to let them link, and this is going to go into the Sergio Link 3, which basically gives it another ability to pop a card, and then he's using the effect of the spell in the graveyard, which lets it equip it with Selene when a Evil Eye Link monster is summoned. So we've got Yama. We searched out Savara, which is also pretty good because it lets you dodge a targeted effect, and I mean, we're now still in a good position because we haven't used the Grey Scrummer's graveyard effect yet, so that's going to allow us to bring back a Yubel or a Spirit of Yubel. We can then pop that and float off of the back of the Shavara. We're going to use, we're just confirming that we added the Shavara. We're going to use the Grave Squirmer, I hope. We've also got SP Little Knight, which isn't a bad thing to use either. But I messed up here, so that ignore this completely. I was like, oh, link 3, choose Yama as a link 1 and the Jin as a link 2. And I was like, oh, wait, no, it needs 4 monsters, not 3. So that was a bit of a brain fart on my behalf. Luckily, we both caught that and was like, okay, cool, my bad. Sometimes you just get ahead of yourself and you're like, oh, that's how I can get rid of it. Still the exact same play, like link summon into SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight to deal with Celine, and then obviously if the opponent chains it, which is exactly what they do, I can now chain SP Little Knight and kind of run away a little bit to kind of make sure it doesn't get destroyed, which can be very, very helpful as well. Keep in mind that the reason I've kind of done this is because ultimately I don't need to attack directly. I'm not planning to attack directly. And what I want to try and do is I'm trying to get rid of the interaction so that when I do use the Grey Scrum, I've still got that ability to go back. So what have we... I'm just trying to see how this one's going to go. Still got the Pot of Prosperity in the hand as well, so that can be very, very helpful. Ah, they had the Shavara as well. So chaining Shavara to pop the Abomination, which means Abomination... so that's in retaliation to the SP Little Knight. So I think it went like SP Little Knight, chain the link 3, chain SP Little Knight to dodge, and they've been able to use their Yama, which is pretty funny. So what is going on here? So we're going to use the Yama effect engrave as well. I'm trying to think what of mine got destroyed. Yeah, they took out the Nightmare Pain. Okay, which is a real annoyance, but... So we're going to bring back the Spirit of Yubel, which is fine because then we've got the ability to kind of float that into a Yubel if we need to. This is kind of like, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it's ultimately not good putting big boss monsters on the board, because once you put those big boss monsters on the board, I'm ultimately allowed to just smack into them as long as I've got a Nightmare Pain. So for those of you unfamiliar with what happened, they used Yama and then they popped their own Shavara, which meant they weren't Fiend locked if they didn't need to be, which also then gave them access to the trap card, which I'm not completely sure why. But I mean, I know why. Like, if I do have a second Nightmare Pain or another way to get to a Nightmare Pain, it's just going to get hit. Like, you'd probably want to get rid of your Link monster, at least if you put the Shavara in defense, and it's not going to take as much damage. But I suppose in this position, the way they're kind of looking at it is, okay, well, the trap card will stay and everything else. So we're going to use Shavara. We're going to pop our Spirit of Yubel. That's going to float. Still haven't used the Grey Squirmer effect, remember, so we still have that to come around. We're trying not to use Prosperity at this exact moment in time in case we don't have the ability. Like, we kind of want to be pushing for an OTK. Like, that's ultimately what I want to be trying to do. So that's why we haven't used Prosperity yet, but we will have to. We're not allowed to attack directly because of SP Little Knight, so we're just going to link these off. And we're just working our way up into like an Abomination. Abomination can then link off. Also, Princess, not Abomination. So we're just going to go into the Princess combo, just try and get some graveyard resource. Princess to bring back the Shavara, link those two together. Obviously, we've already gone through the trap card, which is why we haven't set a trap card. Going into the Amber Whale, we've got the Yubel on the board, which will let us bring back the Samsara of the Lotus during the end phase, which will provide me with another form of interruption. But I mean, even then, if you leave it on the board, you probably want to go for the Valdrath. Because at least with the Valdrath, you're going to get a rank 10 negate. Oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to work through to the OTK, I guess. I'm trying to read my own mind. Like, this was last locals. But the idea is you overlay Spirit of Yubel and Yubel into the Valdrath. You attack with the Amber Whale. And then you attack with the Valdrath. And on declaration of the Valdrath attack, you pop your own whale, summon back the Princess, and then they both carry on through, which will give you pretty much completely OTK. But obviously I can't do that because I can't attack directly. I'm hoping we both remember that. I'm pretty sure we do. But there is a bit of thinking time on this one. It's just trying to make sure that if you bring stuff back, you don't lock yourself, and it's kind of like ultimately what's going on. So just kind of clarifying the thought process, making sure what effects we've got left floating around, and how we want to pick the board apart. Just checking there's nothing more in graveyard floating around. Because I mean, the issue is if I leave that Link monster on the board, there is the Eye of Selene in the graveyard that can float back. And if I leave Abomination on the board, there is also the trap card that's still floating around as well that can ultimately end up popping 1-for-1. So, got to be a little bit careful on this one. Yes, of course, I've got Princess that can retaliate back. But you make sure we don't lock anything. I guess we're now forced to use Prosperity. We've kind of confirmed that we're not going to be able to complete the OTK, so we might as well dig. I'm not too sure what I could technically be digging for here, to be honest. There's not really a board breaker to play. A super poly would be really funny because you'd hit the super poly with Yubel and clear the board clear the board off entirely. I think I went for 6, or did we go for 3? 1 for 1, Imperm, Called by the Grave, Fenrir, Ash, and a Throne is the last card. I mean, none of that really helps us. Like, Throne will be, not like at this exact moment in time. Like, Fenrir is completely dead. Imperm's a good little one. Called by the Grave is a good little one. But other than that, they're not changing the way I'm going to play this. Like, Ash is obviously a good one as well. Throne gives you the ability to float, but we've already got the Terra Incarnate in the graveyard, so that's not going to be as massively effective for us as we would have liked. Unfortunately, we are technically forced to go for the Call by the Grave. A big sad on that one. So I'm just trying to remember what I actually do here. We've got to try and put something on the board. The Valdraff is going to give us the Omni Negate, which is the ideal scenario. Apologies for the glare on this one. It's just very difficult to kind of control that in the environment that we're playing. But this is the rank 10 Valdraff that has the ability to detach to negate. And then you can detach another one to destroy a card on the field. Still, like I said, you don't really want to leave any of those monsters on the board. I think the Sergio at this exact moment in time is 25, if I remember, and the Abomination is 3k. And it's just checking how many Link monsters are in the graveyard to see on the Amberwell. But we're going to crash that. This will then give us the ability to use this effect to bring back Princess. Bring back SP. Yeah, I can bring back SP. That's a good one, actually. And then we'll Valdraff. And we're kind of like clearing off the space here because Valdraff on Declaration can actually pop a card on the field, which is really good. So we're going to use the effect Detach to pop the card along the back row. Putting Yubel into the grave because we also have Eternal Favourite. That's going to give us the ability to crack back. So you can see it was a very meticulous pick the board apart kind of moment because I knew if I left any of those on the board, less so the trap card, but even if they just went normal summon any Unchained monster or got any Unchained monster to the board and then flip that trap card, that could have been a bit of an annoyance for me. So being able to make sure there's no resources coming back. We're setting 2 off the back of this. Obviously, we're not going to be able to contact fuse with the Yubel because you need a card to discard anyway, and we don't have a Yubel on the board. So we've got the Omni Negate, which is really helpful as well. Just correcting the life points because obviously it's Prosperity, so it's half of all the damage that we're just going through at this exact moment in time. So top deck, still on the Nibiru. No, he top decked the Nibiru. Oh, that's painful. That would have been really helpful for them. It looks like there's a Selene in the graveyard. I don't think there's anything else that floats back. I suppose that's the biggest issue is once the resource, yeah, and then scooping it up for game 2. Once the resource is kind of gone, there's not a lot you can do. So we're going into game 2. It looks like a bit of a weird hand. It looks like there's Gorgonia, which is the other equipped spell. The one Basilisk that you don't ever really want to be normal summoning. Oh dear. No. Oh, he opened up the Unchained trap with no Unchained monster as well. Just trying to check if there was any. So the best thing about this, the card that's on the board now, is it can actually use the face-up quick spells as link material. So it actually has the ability to get into the link 2 if it wanted to. Technically. Looks like obviously we've got the Throne. Throne is going to be searching us out. I believe that's the Samsara D Lotus. Oh no, Grey Scrummer. Okay, so I learned my lesson from the game 1. I was like, okay, we'll go with that. And we've already opened up a Dark Beckoning Beast. So if I did get drolled, it'd be like, okay, cool, big sad. But I'd still be able to play because I'd go. If I've got a Lotus, great. Even without the Lotus, I'd just go normal Dark Beckoning. Imperm is the worst one for Dark Beckoning to be hit with because it just turns everything off. And obviously this is again the benefit of having Grave Squirmer, which is why I've definitely updated it to have 3 Grave Squirmers. It's just too good because now I'm able to continue. So we're going to Yama. Have we got another Imperm? No Imperm on that one. Gonna add the Shyama. You don't really want to be using Grave Squirmer to bring back from the grave, but there are times when, like right now is what I mean. Like I don't want to bring back a Dark Beckoning Beast, but if I absolutely have to, I guess I will. So this is technically all off the back of 2 cards, because obviously Dark Beckoning and then Throne, i.e. Grave Swimmer. So we're going to set a card, we're going to pop the card, which is a Call by the Grave, going into the Shavara. Obviously Call by the Grave is the least required card right now. And then we're going to activate the Trap card, which basically lets them spin 2 back, which is really annoying. Because it's like, I mean, at this exact moment, so we don't know that the Unchained along that back row, but I kind of assume they must have like sided in loads of back row cards, and I'm like, that's annoying. So Spin the Shavara back to hand. Yama goes back to the extra deck, which is just as annoying because you'd rather have it in the graveyard. We do have Grave Squirmer, so it's like, okay, so I think there's a Ghost Ogre, a Grave Squirmer, and something else. I mean, the game state is pretty simple. Like, they only have one more set card, and then they've got this one Evil Eye on the board. However, if they do get their own Evil Eye, it can trigger off, and it's like, well, do I use Grave Squirmer to bring me back defense, or do I just pass? So I'm only going to pass there. It looks like there was a Samsara D-Lotus in the hand as well. It tries to use his effect to Link Summon, and then we just hit it like a IP with Ghost Ogre, and it has to use itself, so obviously it can't resolve, which is really kind of important. Draw one, pass, special summon down Fenrir. Fenrir's effect to search, trying to bait the Ash Blossom. Not that it makes a big difference. I mean, if it's a droll, then a droll's a droll, but obviously I've already got the Samsara. So it's like the Samsara can pretty much kick on and do its thing. Samsara gets hit with the Ash. It's like, you didn't take the bait! What a fail! No, it's still worrying about that back row. I mean, if it was an Imperm, I probably would assume it would have been hit. But we've got the Grave Squirmer. And again, it's not really ideal to Grave Squirmer anything back here because there's not really anything you can use. Now, there's a Spirit in the hand plus a Fenrir, so we're just going to attack for the 24, and we're going to keep it down to a basic state. It's like, okay, well, what could you top deck that isn't a monster that would then allow you to play where Fenrir doesn't interact with it? So we're going with the Gorgonia. Going to be banishing that. Discarding another Gorgonia. Ugh. That's not nice. Oh, it searches out the throne. Alright, maybe that is nice. Damn. Okay. Search out Serziel. Fine. So now it's all about working its way back up. But then Serziel could be targeted, right? I'm not missing anything. So I don't know why I would leave Serziel on the board. So resolve it and then hit with the Fenrir. Doesn't... Because it banishes it face down. There's like nothing you can do after that, surely. Oh, it searches out the one that spawned a token. Is that spawn a token that lets them continue to play? I mean, I'm not familiar. Like, I know the Evil Eye cards, but I haven't looked at them or played them for a long, long time. I do really like the art type. Again, it just got kind of like interactive with every time hand trap under the sun. Ah, bring the Basilisk back round. We're resolving the Fenrir, banishing it face down. Activate this spawn a token. And then I suppose they're only fiend locked, if anything. So being able to kind of continue to link climb up is going to be helpful. That's going to get your access to your Yama. I suppose as soon as you get access to Yama, that trap along the back row's all of a sudden live. So it's becoming more and more threatening as we go. Yeah, it's really kind of cool to face against the Evil Eyes, to be fair. It was something like I hadn't faced for a while. Oh, not even that. Oh my god, they went into the rank 3 DDD and then the rank 8. Oh, I remember this now. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Maybe I'm just going to have to double check the rank 10. The rank 8, sorry. DDD rank. It's like Device of King Dus Machina. So activate Spirit of Yubel in the hand. This then gets chained. Is that effect on the field? So I think the question was is how it absorbs it. Is like how does it absorb it and resolve? So I think that's the one thing we might not have got completely right. Deus Ex Machina. Oh, Machine X. I keep calling it Machina. It's rank 10, not a rank 8. What a dummy. I should have known that. So you can only exercise these, blah, 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 blah. When a monster card your opponent controls activates its effect. So when I activate Spirit on the board... yeah, so this was the question. So it was activate Spirit on the board to search out Nightmare Pain. Activate Shavara in response, destroying the Spirit of Yubel, putting it to the graveyard. Could Yubel, Spirit of Yubel, still float on the new chain, or does Deus Ex still absorb it? If it still absorbed it, then we wouldn't be able to float into the Yubel. So our end board, or our board would currently be... We'd still get the resolution to search out Nightmare Pain. But then it would only be Shavara, and then the Deus Ex would have an additional material. So the next time I activated a monster effect, it could actually negate it and absorb it. So this is what we're questioning now. We're like, does it absorb it? And we're like, well, yeah, we can just absorb it. We can fix that. That gives you another absorption on him. But then we were like, oh, but then if you absorbed it, does that mean Yubel doesn't even float? And technically it leaves the field. So I'm not sure if... Well, does it leave the field or does it just get absorbed? So I don't even know if it triggers the trigger the throne. Either way, we can kind of rectify it in a sense. We go like Samsara, tribute off Samsara, get into Spirit. Spirit would then give us, looks like we've gone for Eternal Favourite on this one. So, which is fine because I can technically set the Eternal Favourite and go from there. So are we trying to work our ways into Yama? I'm pretty sure I sided out the Shy Armor, by the way, which is why you'll probably see if I do go to thing, it isn't going to go anywhere. Do we just go, I mean, we can go SP, but that doesn't get us anything from the extra deck. Oh, we've got another Grey Scrum in the hand. So we've used the Grey Scrum of Grave effect. We haven't used the Grey Scrum of hand effect, so now we can link these off. Destroy the Yubel. Float into Terror? Wait, what? Why did they even point at Throne? There's the Terror. Nothing's going to happen there. Are we going to link all three? I mean, surely you just go into like an Anguish, right? Anguish go into Rage. Big brain think. I mean, again, you'd still get the link too. It'd just make this like a lot more awkward than it actually is. So there's the Nightmare Pain. So Nightmare Pain, destroy Terror Incarnate, which is fine. And then I can technically, now I can use Throne because Throne can float me back down. Yeah, there we go. So Throne can then float me back down into a Yubel. So at least if I would go for Spirit, is just to deck Finn. It's not going to get me anywhere, but at least with Spirit I can attack the Deus Ex. That's 3k damage. Haven't used Prosperity this time, so it'd be, I mean, you still got to kill the Deus Ex. I suppose that's the issue as well. Oh god, do I really need to, maybe I need to consider Typhon. I think Typhon's also incredibly good. Like just being able to go main phase 2 possibly and slap a Typhon on top of a Yubel could be massively helpful depending on the game state and the board, because it depends if you've got Nightmare Pain. If they get rid of Nightmare Pain, then obviously you just slap on a Typhon on top. That non-target bounce can be massively helpful, but I feel there's not many decks right now that are playing big boss monsters like attack stats. I think a lot of them can pretty much play down it. So there's Muckraker. Muckraker is going to discard a Fenrir, bring back Yubel. So we've now got that into rotation, and now we've got the cards on the board that can be used as the tribute fodder for the Yubel. But ultimately, we just attack twice. We just attack with Yubel for 3k, attack with Spirit for Yubel, that's 3k, and then that's it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.